book cover, and it was made for you artists because you help us live in a better world. We want to help you get more work. So thank you so much, and let's start this podcast. Oh, hello everyone. Welcome to the Living from Your Art podcast. My name is Elie Castonguay. I'm an art business coach, and today we have a very special guest. His name is Michael Harding. I'm looking on Facebook at the same time. Okay, there's some sound. Perfect. So his name is Michael Harding. He's a puppeteer from Brampton, Ontario, and he's an amazing artist, and his business is going like that. So we're going to ask him all sorts of questions today. So welcome to the first interview of the Living from Your Art podcast. I want you to open up your horizon as an artist and see that there are many, many opportunities. All right, welcome back. So before I introduce my guest, Mike Harding, I want to tell you guys, if you can write in the comments where you're listening from. Are you an artist? What kind of artist are you? I want to know who's the audience and what they're doing, because the goal of this podcast is to actually help you. And I keep on looking at myself instead of looking at the camera. So it's okay. So anyway, and also if you have any questions, please type them in the chat because I want to see who's there. So we have the Creature Work Studio. You got this, guys. Thank you so much. And so welcome to my guest, Mike Harding.
Hello.
It's like magic.
Oh, here I am. Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. So everybody's there, so don't be shy. So I'm going to start looking at the camera, but sometimes I will look at your beautiful face, Mike, okay?
I'll try and look both at the camera and also your lovely...
Yeah, thank you so much. So that's so hard to look at the camera. So let's change subject anyway. So Mike, can you please just present yourself real quick, who
Sure.
you are, what you do, and what you stand for with your art business.
All right. First of all, congratulations on your new podcast. Thanks for letting me be your first guest. You're awesome.
You deserve it.
Oh, thanks. So my name is Mike Harding, and I'm from Applefun Puppetry. And so I do puppet shows, and I've been doing puppet shows for almost 25 years. And I do them at schools and daycares and birthday parties and festivals and places like that. And I think we'll get into it in the questions probably, but I got my start just from building puppets, really. I make most of my own puppets. And then I needed something to do with them after high school, after I built them in high school. So I started performing, and then it just organically turned into my career.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it was
never a plan, Eli. It was never a plan. It just grew organically, my business.
Interesting. I like it. All right. So we have Elise Hendelman, retired puppeteer from Florida, but friends with Mike. Amazing. Hello, Elise. I like your name.
Bob.
What?
Bob is her husband. Bob.
Oh, hello, Bob. He's probably taking a bath. So, all right. So, first question, Mike.
Yeah.
As a kid, were you an entrepreneur?
So no, I don't think so. When I was a kid, I wasn't an entrepreneur. I had some really good economic lessons, I think, when I was a little kid. I remember this one. But to answer your question, no, I wasn't entrepreneurial when I was a kid. I wasn't one of those kids who had a lemonade stand every weekend or any of that. I don't remember doing any business things or even having an interest in business when I was a little kid.
Okay.
But I was given some good economic advice, which I think helps with my business, right? Like from my mother. I remember once I wanted a stuffed dog at a store, and I wanted to buy it right then and there, and I probably wanted her to buy it. And she just said to me, well, you can buy it, but you need to save up for it, right? And so I saved up. I did chores around the house or whatever for like a number of weeks. And then I bought this stuffed animal, and that kind of lesson, she was always sort of giving me these little subtle lessons, I think. So as a result, I sort of learned the value of money. And yeah, so I think those kinds of things help me with my business, but not a, and that's how you have to be, I guess, as an entrepreneur. You got to be careful with everything, with your money and your time, right? But no, as a kid, I was more of an artistic kid than I was a business-minded kid.
Okay. Well, you're right. Being knowledgeable about economics is very important for an artist to have actually a business. So it's a very good thing that your mom introduced you to that at a young age. And yeah, you answered my next question, like, were you an artist as a kid? So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like, the biggest successes that I had were as a kid, the things that I latched onto to build my confidence as a kid were the artistic things that I got accolades for. Like, yeah, for sure. So I was always making things. I was always working with my hands. Those were my happiest moments as a kid, was doing that. Interestingly, though, not really performing. That came later. Now I feel very comfortable performing. But it grew out of making things, like I said before, right? So now I feel like I'm more comfortable performing maybe than I am making things.
Interesting.
It's changed, but yeah.
Life goes on, right?
Well said.
We change our viewpoints. And so we have a quick question here from the Create Your Work Studio. You do your performance live without pre-recorded material. What made you go in that direction?
Oh yeah, pre-recorded material. When I do my shows, I don't use any pre-recorded. Hi Tom, this is Tom Stewart from Create Your Work Studio.
Oh, hey Tom.
And I like to keep things as simple as possible. So that's one reason I don't use any pre-recorded stuff, because I don't have to rely on technology. When you have pre-recorded stuff, you have to have something to play it back, and then the batteries have to always be working, or there has to be a plug. And I mean, even like a third of the way through my performing career, I didn't even use a microphone. Like,
nice.
And then I finally started using one because it's way too rough on your voice not to. But yeah, it's not that I distrust technology. I love technology, but I like to keep it simple, and that's really the only reason. Pre-recorded. I mean, I like to keep it live too, right? And spontaneous. So if it's pre-recorded, it's. But you know, that's just how I work. There's lots of different ways. And
all right. Perfect. Well, thanks for answering Tom's question. So, next question: what did you want to become when you were younger?
Yeah. So when I was young, I think maybe in the back of my head at some point, or always, maybe I thought it'd be fun to be an artist or to be creative your whole life. But I do also remember, like, I don't know why this sticks with me, but I wanted to be like a marine biologist. And I think maybe I did one of those those career tests that you do sometimes, and it tells you what you're supposed to be or whatever. I think I did one of those once, and it came out marine biologist. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, that's probably what I should probably be then. I think it said marine biologist and also auto mechanic, which is what my father was. So anyway, I didn't become either one of those. Became puppeteer instead. But it made sense, because marine biology, I think I latched onto that idea because I do like animals a lot, and so it kind of stuck with me for a while. But then I forgot about it. But I remember wanting to be that for a little while as a little kid, for sure. What did you want to be when you were a little kid?
I want to be a grown-up.
Did you? You're not joking, I think. Are you serious?
I'm not joking.
Kids are like that, right? No.
That was my profession, being a grown-up. So thanks for this answer. I like it. I'm gonna send you all my marine biology questions.
I know things about biology.
Yeah. Did your family members encourage you when you told them you wanted to become a full-time artist, if that ever happened?
Well, that's a good, like, did I ever tell them that I want to be a full-time artist? Not really, because like I said before, yeah, it just kind of happened. It just kind of grew organically. It was never like, okay, now I'm going to be an artist, right? It just sort of gradually took over, right? Which I think in many ways is the best way to do it, because I'm not, I mean, it's hard to make that plan, right? And say, okay, I'm going to be an artist now, and this is it, right?
Yeah.
At some point, obviously, I made a transition, but they knew, you know, I think that they always knew I was creative, right? And then they always, my family is very much like, it's not, I wasn't given encouragement, I'd say, but I was also not given discouragement, if that makes, you know what I mean? Like, they were just like, okay, you can do that. Like, it was very much like every man for himself kind of thing. And so, I mean, not that there wasn't a lot of attention in my family. It was great, but I mean, I remember my uncle saying, this maybe is a picture of how my family sort of maybe works, is when my grandmother had her 80th birthday and my uncle got up to speak about her, he said about her, he said, she thinks, referring to my grandmother, she thinks that everybody in this room can do exactly what they want to do. Like, she believed in all of our abilities, sort of thing. That's what he was saying. And I think, you know, her being like such a big figure in our family, that's sort of the way I felt, is like, you supported, right? Even if you made mistakes or whatever, or made stupid decisions, like to become an artist, it would be okay, right? And so this allows you a bit of freedom, right? Like, I was privileged for sure to have that sense within my family that everything was okay. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Lucky.
Good vibe to have in the family.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks. And what was your first paid gig, if you remember, as an artist, and how did it go?
I don't think it went terribly, because maybe I would be a marine biologist. I don't remember, so long ago, right? If it was bad or good, who knows?
Yeah.
It was probably not that good, like, but I didn't get like booed out of the room or anything like that. The paid one, I mean, you know, I think for a long time I worked almost for free in bookstores doing these puppet shows, right? Before people started to like ask me to do things at birthday parties and whatnot. That's how it kind of grew, is out of doing that. It might not have been free. Like, maybe I got like a very small amount of money to do them. I forget. But I do remember the first birthday party. I think it was like a friend of my mom's.
Okay.
And it was fine. And you're nervous and stuff, but I mean, that's no different than it is now. I still get nervous to do puppet shows, right? So,
Oh, wow.
but I don't remember any horrific thing happening at that one. You know, the horrific things happen later on.
Okay, good. So we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Sure, if you want. Nothing really, and it's not that bad. It's just a puppet show. It's nothing that bad can really happen.
Exactly. Nobody died.
No.
Except the puppet, maybe.
I try to avoid death I mean, I perform for children, not that children shouldn't learn about death and everything, but the puppet show's maybe not the place to talk about it.
I like it.
Unless it's well, I mean, maybe that's a special puppet show.
Yeah, Halloween, like a horror movie, like a zombie.
Yeah.
Zombie puppet.
Zombie puppet.
All right. Well, thanks you for that.
Okay.
What job were you doing just before making the transition to full-time, and how was the transition?
Okay, so just before I started doing this full-time, I was, I guess I had a few jobs. I came out of university and I worked just like in retail at Toys R Us on the night crew, like at Christmas time, which was a very fun job to have, actually. And then also, but just after that, just before I probably started doing the puppet thing full time, I think that's when I was working at Air Canada at the airline.
Oh, wow.
As a baggage handler. And I didn't really like that. And so that helped, because I didn't like that job. I was like, well, let's try the puppet thing instead. It's just, you know, it's a fine job and it's a good place to work, but it's, you know, you're out in the weather a lot, and
It was your training to carry your puppet bags.
My luggage, yeah, I use a lot of luggage for my puppets,
There
so
you go.
I got very exposed to luggage. Okay. It made it hard though, Eli, like, because that's, on paper, that's a good job to have. When you work for the airline, it's reliable, you get a pension, all these things, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, I was young enough, I think, and stupid enough to like be able to walk away from that. And I should say I didn't just walk away from it either. I had to like almost make an excuse for myself. So I went back to school.
Oh,
So that
wow.
was my excuse for quitting Air Canada, was like, I have to go back to school. And so going back to school, I went back to school to study television production, and which I don't use. I don't use any of that education at all. I don't think. But
I
it
think that's
gave,
what it made. What I think that's what school is for, to not use it.
what? To
To
not
not,
use it?
not
Maybe
use it.
sometimes. I mean, probably there's things we use, right? But most of the stuff, probably not really, right? No, you learn from life more than you learn from school, right? But that did give me that like little transition, like you were asking about the transition, that going back to school just for a year to college gave me that period of time to get out of that other job, and then the puppet thing started to take over. And also, I think what was good about that, thinking back on it now, I hadn't really thought of this before, but I was in that program with a lot of other kind of artsy people, artists and creative people who were trying to think about how can I go forward in this life in a creative way. So that probably helped actually a lot too, being in there with those people, even maybe if I didn't become a TV producer or director, right? But I never actually thought about that, but that's probably true. If those people are listening, thanks for being a good influence on me.
Thanks, TV people from back in the days.
Back in the days of
All right. Well, good. I like your answer, and you have a good question here. What is your best experience? We have Charla Kalu Zimmerman. What is your best experience as a puppeteer?
Hi, Charla. Charla is a good friend of mine, and my best was the question. I got distracted. The best experience I had as a puppeteer.
What is your income? Oh no. What is your best experience as a puppeteer?
My best experience. Am I supposed to say the day that I hired you as my business coach?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the answer, Charla. The day I hired Elie as my business coach, and I learned how to say his name incorrectly. It's supposed to be Elie, but he lets me call him Elie, and he even calls himself that, so it's okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah, my best, but that's maybe my best experience as a business person. My best experience as a puppeteer, I don't know. It's like there's funny moments, and there's these little moments because I work with kids so much. It's the funny little things that they do, right, that'll stick in my head. Like Charla's son, I remember when I was a little when I was a little kid, but he was a little kid, Lucas. Lucas too, right? He was at a puppet show, and I just remember him. He was sitting right in the front, and I was out after the puppet show talking to the kids, and he was like, he's just tapping my foot. He's just tapping my foot, like my shoe, just to try to distract me, right? So, and then I was telling Charla about it later, and she's like, "Oh yeah," and we were laughing, right? And so, these kind of little moments when the kids do like interesting things that change what I do, change up my day, sort of thing. Not to encourage all the kids out there to like create disruptions during my puppet show, but those are the things I remember, like those fun little things. I used to do some stuff for adults. I used to host a Brampton Indie Arts Festival here in Brampton, and it was a music festival sort of thing, and I got to be the MC using puppets. And I always used to really love doing that because it was for adults, and it gave me a new audience and try out new things and experiments. So those are some good times as a puppeteer for sure. Even during COVID, Charla, too. Like when I started doing that, when COVID hit and I lost, all my business, or not all my business, but it was hard to find business. I started just doing online shows and making up new things and being very experimental with trying new ideas and stuff. those I have fond memories of, because even though I wasn't really making any money during that time, I was really exercising my creative capacity as much as I could. So I hope that answers the question. I don't have one specific thing that I can mention as my favorite thing.
I mean, it's a good answer. After 25 plus years of doing this, it would be hard to select only one, only one thing, right?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of them, right? So they blur together, maybe. I don't know.
All right. So we have 3 questions from the. I just want you to ask really fast.
Okay,
One word.
I
Okay.
answer fast. I answer fast.
Okay. So I'll ask. I'll show the 3 questions. You answer fast. So, did you take any improv class?
Yes,
Perfect.
Tom knows that. So good question, Tom.
Yeah. Where did you get the name Applefun?
It starts with A. That's one thing I learned in business school, is make your business start with A, but doesn't matter anymore. But in the days of the yellow pages, it was important to have your company start with A. It's one thing I learned in business school.
Genius.
And I just like the sound of it. My company has nothing to do with apples, but it is fun.
No, it's puppets, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Puppets. Okay. Okay, another fast answer. Do you make your own puppets?
Good question, Rob. Yes, I do make my own puppets, less and less these days. And I also I have so many puppets now that I don't have to make as many, but I do make my own puppets, and I try to keep on that when I have time.
You can plug the puppets you're using as well.
And I also use Diabolo puppets, Eli.
All right.
You can see 2 of them right behind me. This pig and this donkey are Diabolo puppets, and you can buy them on Etsy. So during COVID, Steven from Diabolo Puppets helped me out by sending me some puppets to use, and I started doing online videos using his puppets, and his puppets are awesome.
Yes, they are.
Using them.
All right, the Diabolo puppets. Perfect. So I'll get on with my next question. Did you ever think of giving up and to get a real job due to too many barriers as an artist? Oh, balloons.
If you do this, does balloons come up? Ah! Why does it do that when you do this? One more
I think it's your computer is possessed.
Obviously. Happy birthday. It's my brother's 60th birthday today. Oh, I just said it publicly, but yeah.
He's
So
very old. He's very old.
He's quite a bit older than I am, everyone. Okay, so
do I have to say the question again? Yes.
No, I remember. What is it again?
Did you ever think of giving up and to get a real job due to too many barriers as an artist?
Sure. Not until like COVID, right? And when COVID hit, that's when I hired you and started working with you. But around that time, you know this story well, but I'm a live performer. I go into daycares and schools and birthdays. So nobody was hiring that stuff. So that's when I'm like, okay, I think that I'm going to have to get a normal job. And so, yeah, I actually had applied. I applied to Amazon, where I live. Probably where everyone lives, there's a giant Amazon warehouse. And I almost was, I had an interview, I think, or whatever interview process they have. I was going to go, and then they called me, and I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do this. And then I started thinking of other things to do. And one of them was like hiring you, because I started to become aware of you and Caroline and what you guys were doing online and your coaching. And that helped me to do that. But also I was lucky, right? Like, we had the CERB. That helped me a little bit to get through financial help from the government. But I didn't have to use it too much, like not like some other people did. I used it just enough to get me through, and then started doing online shows and things like this, and it started to pick up again. So yeah, for sure. There's been times, when you're like, you're ready to pack it in, right? And do something else. But there hasn't been a lot. Like that's the only one that sticks out in my mind.
Wow.
Because I'm fortunate to do this. I'm not. I don't take it for granted one bit, right? That I'm lucky that I get to do this job that's working with kids and having fun and providing fun, hopefully to them and doing something creative. Like, so I really work to keep doing it, right? That's all. That's all.
Yeah, totally. And we have Ann Newman that says your online puppet shows were fun to watch.
Thanks, Anne. And it's a good friend of mine. She doesn't have to say that, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, you can send her a check in the mail.
Yeah, $5.
Yes. Every positive comment gets $5. All right. So next question. In your opinion, why some talented artists are able to make a living from their art and others with similar talents are not able to do it?
Well, I guess it's just I don't know. I don't know why, except that I didn't do this for a long time, so I don't want to get preachy about it or anything like that. But I put in like the work every single day, right? And maybe that's the difference. Maybe and COVID maybe taught me this is, I used to not work that hard to keep this going. But now I do. Like I make phone calls every day and I don't know what else I do. But I work on the business every day. Well, there's lots of things that I do. I'm making a book about puppet shows. I don't know. It's hard for me to think of what I do.
I mean, you have two employees now. You have you have many clients to help. You created new products.
Yeah, this puppet camp thing where I teach kids how to make a puppet show. So maybe I don't know. Sometimes I think, and I don't want to undersell myself either, but I sometimes think that, I'm probably not the most talented puppeteer in the world, right? I'm for sure not. There's way better puppeteers out there than I am, right? But I do work to make it I guess what I'm saying is I can't really rest just on my talent. Right? So I put the work in as well, and those two things combined, so because I do have some talent.
Yeah.
It's mostly more working with kids, I think, than it is actually being puppeteer. But it's the work. It's just not like you don't have to think of it as like excruciating painful work either, right? Like I work at a good pace. I don't take on too much. I feel like that's maybe a good thing. Maybe I would have gotten a lot more done if I did take on more stuff, but I try to keep a balance as well. So, but to answer the question, I'm not comfortable really like commenting on other artists, right? Because it's hard for all of us, artists or otherwise. But I feel like putting the work in regularly, like being consistent about it. Maybe if it's even that, maybe if it's not even like, thanks, Charlotte. Charlotte just said
There you go.
Yeah, like I put in every single day, right? Except maybe on the weekends. But even often I'm working on the weekends. But so I don't know. I'm not that comfortable talking about this.
It's a good answer. You can stop talking. It's a good answer. It's good.
You understand? You understand what I'm saying?
I understand. I think everybody, even Charla, understood. So you are consistent, and you are putting the work in, and sometimes that's all it takes, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's just doing the right things in the right quantity.
And it does, and the quantities, the right quantity is important. It doesn't have to be massive quantities. If you just put in a little bit consistently, then something will grow, right?
Yeah.
That's like true of most things, I think.
Yeah, totally. All right. So who is your usual buyer, and do you use your personal story to connect with with them usually or not?
Yeah, not directly, but my usual buyer. So first of all, I guess you and I figured out last week my most common buyer or most frequent buyer is the daycare centers, right? And that was really good information from you because I didn't really realize that. I think I thought I knew that, but and personal story wise, like I don't really have. I think I have certain things in common with those people who maybe run daycares. They're often entrepreneurs, right? So I think I have shared experience, and also we both care about kids, right? And the well-being and that kids are having a good time.
Yeah.
Right. So we have this in common, but I don't sort of, maybe I should say that on the phone, but I think they see that I'm a small business and I'm an entrepreneur, and so are they. And so we have this in common right away. So, sometimes that commonality helps maybe. And then, being interested in kids and what's going on with them is, we also have this in common. So, yeah, I feel like I can, also I'm sympathetic to what it's like to work with kids. I always say, like, I don't know how they do it all day long with little kids. I go in for 45 minutes. Sometimes it's hard. And they're there all day long, and they're very positive about it and everything for the most part, right? So
yeah, totally.
I get it, I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we have a question from Paul Greggs. What kind of puppet shows do you do? Fairy tales, fables, or your own stories and plays?
Paul, I usually take a fairy tale and just twist it. I'll usually take a story because I'm a bit lazy when it comes to writing. So I'll take a story that is already known and I'll just change it. This is what I teach kids to do too when they make a puppet show. Take the Three Little Pigs, take all the pigs out of the story, put pirates in instead, and then then you have a new story, right? So this is people have been doing this for thousands of years, right? So that's basically what I do. Sometimes I make up my own story though, as well. So it depends. But I do a little bit of both, I guess, is to answer your question, Paul.
All right. Well, thanks for your answer. So, and you talked a little bit about this, but more specifically, what do you do on a day-to-day basis to find new clients?
Yeah. So the new clients part of it is really, I have two employees, Barb and Shauna, if you're out there listening, hi. And they do a lot of that for me. Like they call centers that I haven't been to before or ones that I have been to before. And just to introduce what I do to them. And so that's not really something that I do, but I hired those guys to do it. And then sometimes as well, I do it. Like if they get, if they find someone who wants me to call them, then I'll call and introduce myself and that kind of thing. So I guess the most important thing that I do to find new customers but also to maintain relationships with my existing customers is to be on the phone and just talking to them, and not really like hard selling or anything like that. It's more just like introducing and finding out what it is that if they're interested, what they might want in terms of entertaining the kids.
Okay.
So phone calls in the short answer.
I love it. And
which is I learned from you, just to clarify that.
Okay.
The importance of making phone calls is a skill that I never had and would never do before COVID or meeting you, Elie. And so you were really instrumental in like building my confidence to even do that. Because it's not easy. Every day I struggle to make like 10 phone calls. But I do it. So
yeah, I mean, maybe I showed you, but as you say, you struggle to do it, but you do it anyway. So you probably feel very proud of you after doing something that you struggle even today, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is what self-confidence is all about, going through these mental barriers, even though it's pushing us to not do it.
Yeah, for sure it is. Yeah. And you have to keep your eye on that end. Yeah, I don't really feel like doing this now, but it's like going to the gym. It's like all these things that we put ourselves through, right? But I never feel worse after I've been to the gym. Not that I go to the gym. Let's be clear about that. But I understand that's how you might feel.
You go to the client prospecting gym. It's a new gym.
The phone gym.
The phone gym. Yeah, you get your ear muscles going.
That's right.
That's why I can see them from here. They're so muscular. Yeah, never seen. Okay. So, and what do you say when you follow up with potential or actual clients?
I don't know. Just like usually it's like a thank you for having me last time kind of thing. Lately, it's just to find out what other kinds of things they use that work with the kids, like what other entertainers they use. This is another thing we talked about, is just gathering information so that I can see, because I don't always see the other performers or whatever, and I like to know what works. And
But before that, because this is pretty recent,
yeah,
like
that's very recent.
what do you usually say? You call a client that didn't hire you for, let's say, 6 months. What do you say?
Just checking in. I wanted to see, like, this, the fall is coming up, whatever the season is coming up. Like I have shows that are seasonal or around the holidays or Halloween or whatever. I have a Halloween show. I don't know if you'd be interested in booking anything for that. If not, keep me in mind for next time. Like I said, it's not really hard selling or anything. It's just like a reminder call, just so. Yeah. So I just say, yeah, I'm just checking in to say hi. This is if I'm leaving a message. Most of the time you're leaving a message.
Yeah.
But in my experience, most of the time people, sometimes when you make phone calls, you think you're bothering people. I don't know if it's because of the industry I work in, but everybody's pretty nice. So, I mean, you do catch someone at the wrong time sometimes, but
yeah.
But I think the important thing is I also try to remember, I don't always do this, I'm not great at this, but ask for their time before I start chatting away or asking them lots of questions. Just make sure they have a little bit of time to talk. How are things going? Yeah, so more conversational, I guess.
Good.
Is that specific enough?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, sometimes we overthink what we should say or do with these kind of calls, and as you say, asking if they have some time, and if you already know them, you just follow up on the new show. And I like the fact that you say, like, hey, thank you so much for the last show we did like 6 months ago. It was amazing. To remind them, I like this fact that you remind them that they hired you in the past. It's a great idea.
Yeah. Just keep it positive and light, I guess, as much as possible. And like you said, I think don't overthink it too much either. Like if you call maybe with an agenda, too much of an agenda, like obviously you're calling to sell a puppet show, right? But if you're calling to tell them all of what the new puppet show is all about and all the details of it, and you get too caught up in that, maybe that's not a good thing. So just try to keep it like you would be talking to a friend or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember someone told you a concept that everybody on the planet was your friend.
Oh, who told me that? Oh, it was you. That's right. I forgot about that one. But you're right. You do have that outlook, don't you? Which is a very positive way to look at things. Elie once told me everyone that he has that outlook, that everyone is his friend.
Yeah, we live on the same planet.
Yeah.
That's hanging in nothingness. So we have a similar reality.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for your answer on that. Can you tell me what are your most successful action to sell your shows or your art?
Yeah, we've kind of gone over this, but it's definitely being on the phone. That's the most effective thing for me. Okay. Yeah. Emailing also seems to work really well. Brevity in either case, I think, is
Gravity?
not gravity. Yeah, you can't float. Yeah, you can't float around in space. Well, maybe you can if you're in space, but brevity, like being
Brief. Okay.
brief, not briefs,
Not brave.
brave, but also brief and brave. Let's get a T-shirt. It's brief and brave.
Yeah. Brief. I'm in briefs and I'm brave.
Briefs. So I think that's effective. Like you don't want to over explain too much. You taught me this too a little bit. Like you don't have to get into all of the details about how wonderful everything is, and brief is good. And so yeah. And
Flexible.
well, flexible. Yeah, I learned this is another word we've all heard a lot, I guess, after COVID and stuff. But yeah, you got to be flexible and work with people rather than just telling them what you're gonna do, right? But
I like it.
yeah.
Being brief. Yeah, I like it. It's very true because some people, the fake personality of the sales cars guy, used car salesman that like just talks and tries to overwhelm the other person until he buys. And I think many people who don't like sales kind of, it's my opinion, but I think that many people who don't like selling their stuff kind of get into that fake persona.
Mhm.
And it just feels weird, and it just keep on talking about, like you said, like how good it is. I buy my it's the best. You will never. It's the best, and then people say no, and they don't understand why. So I think being brief is a very good advice.
Yeah, brief and like to the point, right? People don't have a lot of time people are busy and have time
Yeah.
to read a lot of things or listen to a lot of nonsense. So I mean, it's just you have to think of it from their point of view, I guess, too. That's the thing, right? Is like if I was in their shoes, or we all know what it's like when you get a phone call from someone you're not expecting a phone call from.
Yeah.
You just cannot wait to get off the phone, especially if you think they're selling you something, right? So yeah.
You're very good at this, I know. All right, next question, Mike Harding.
Yes, Elie Castonguay.
Yeah, what are the kind of objections that you mostly get from potential or actual clients?
Maybe like comments about my hairstyle. I don't like your hairstyle, stuff like that.
Your breath, bad breath.
Bad breath. Always have bad breath.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. The rejections. So you want to know what they are, and then what do I do when I get them?
What kind of objections do you get? Like, oh, we're not interested, or we're not booking. Like, what do you get when they say no?
Yeah, I mean, I never get because mostly I call like my existing customers. So these are probably people who are mostly gonna book, another puppet show in the future at some time. So maybe it's not a hard no. It's just like, oh, we're not gonna do it right now. It's maybe later. Usually that's what I get. That would be the rejection is like, oh, we only book things in the summertime or this and that. So that's fine. I just let it go and say, okay, can I follow up with you at a certain period of time closer to that? And but when you get and then a hard rejection, like I hardly ever get that. You should talk to probably Barb and Shauna maybe because they probably get that more than I do. But what I tell them and what I've had to do, like there have been times when I've gotten people, you just catch them at the wrong time or whatever. And this was more during COVID. I remember getting one particular person I phoned and she seemed very miserable and I obviously just annoyed her. And so I got off the phone. I don't know how the call ended. I guess I apologized or whatever, but then I got off the phone and something that you had told me and coached me to do is like, if you do get, because I think you knew I was going to get some bad ones, you just got to make the next one, right? And so that's what I do. It helps if you know, like, if you have a quota for yourself each day, if you know you're going to make 10 calls, then there's no getting to 3 and then stop, right? If you get to 3 and you get a negative one, you got to go to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10, right? So I guess maybe if you get to 10 and you get a bad one on 10, you should go to 11, maybe.
That's good. I
Probably.
like it.
I don't, maybe it's because of I don't know. I don't get a lot of really negative things. Like, I guess I'm trying to think, like, I can't imagine that I don't get any negative ones, but
I think you're too nice. You're too nice to have negative ones. It just flow. It goes on your back. They pass by.
I'd like to think so, but that's not how I am, right? Like, I'm a very sensitive person, so I think it's just like, but I am very, I'm nice on the phone, and if people aren't interested, I don't push the issue, so I don't ever want people to feel like pressured into anything, right? So I don't know.
It's fine. I get the most objections you have is not right now.
No, again, you should interview Barb and Shauna.
I mean, you're the one booking the most. Like, we have a question here, and I can answer for you. Elise, in the 40 years of puppetry business, my husband thought I was better at selling his show than he was. Do you find that with your employees? I can say that you are the one booking the most shows.
Yeah.
So maybe it depends. Some artists maybe are having a harder time to sell their own things, but some others maybe are the best person to actually promote it.
Well, I guess I am. I mean, I don't think that it's easy. It's hard to sell your own art, your own self, because you're really selling yourself, right? So this is the ongoing battle you have with yourself. You feel like, it's that you're bragging or something, right? But when you try to sell your art, right? But so I can see why, and I know Elise and Bob's relationship. I can see why. I'm sure Elise was better at selling Bob's show than Bob was. Bob was an awesome puppeteer, is an awesome puppeteer, and but his biggest fan for sure, I think, is Elise. So and me, Bob, and I could sell your show for sure. But yeah, it's a different dynamic, and I don't know what else to say about that. But
let's get to the next question.
Next question.
All right. What?
That was a good question from Elise.
Yeah, totally. We have another one from Paul Greggs.
Hey, Paul. So no, they're not for me cold. Are they?
Oh, so I'm gonna read the question. Are these cold calls or past clients?
Are they cold calls or past clients? Mostly for me, I'm calling old clients, or I'm calling like leads that Shauna or Barb, my two employees, have gotten. So it's pretty easy for me. And they're calling cold calls, right?
All right.
Yeah, but they're really good at it, and so that's hard. That's harder for sure when you're calling someone. But you had a great line that you came up with the other day, and it was like, and I passed it on to Shauna, I think, and it was like, if you get someone on the phone, like when you phone them, you understand they're not in them. You're phoning them to sell a puppet show. They didn't really have in their mind, oh, I need to buy a puppet show today, right? So you can say this on the phone, right? You probably weren't. I thought this was really good on your part. You could say to the person on the phone, like, let me guess, you weren't thinking about buying a puppet show today, right? And then so it creates a lighter tone in conversation, maybe. So that was good. That was good.
Yeah, the kind of like you probably didn't wake up this morning thinking about like, I should get a puppet show today.
No one.
That's what
Not
I'm gonna get.
wake up like that, Eli.
What?
We're working to change that, but we want the future where everyone wakes up in the morning and is like, where can I get a puppet show?
Which puppet show am I gonna buy today? Where's the catalog?
Yeah, it's like instead of morning coffee, people will be like, where can I get a puppet show at this time of day in the morning?
A puppet show with 2 creams. All right. So next question. So thanks for your question, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Well, do you believe? I think the question is pretty easy, but I like this question. Do you believe that any talented artist can make a living from their art if they put their mind to it?
Yeah. If they put their mind to it, I guess the key is like, for sure, if you put your mind to it, but you have to make sure you just, I guess it's this consistency thing.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to be consistent, right? Like maybe that's like a personality trait that I have or I've developed. I don't know. Be interesting to maybe figure that out, but
yeah.
But for sure, like, and I've kind of, like I said before, even not so talented artists, like maybe myself, if you're consistent, not like I don't want to belittle myself or whatever, because I'm very good at what I do, but yeah, if you're consistent and you just like, and you believe in what you do, like you have something to share, it doesn't have to be a massive life-changing thing, right? But for sure, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that. So you hear that, any artist listening, if you put your mind to it, you can achieve it. All right. Next question. So what is the best advice you've received concerning your art business?
Yeah, okay. So there was something I wanted to add to that last one, though. Anyone can do it with consistency, all that. And also, if you're in the right situation, like, if you have support and you're in not everyone has that, right? So I don't want to make it seem easy or something like that, but I come from a privileged family background and everything like that, and all those things were in place for me. So, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to add that.
Well, that's good. It's a good way to start, so you're not like constantly anxious about, having your basics in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So the question again was,
what is the best advice you've received concerning your art business?
Okay. So a long time ago, a friend of my mom's was a judge, but this is going back to when I was thinking about being a puppeteer and doing a puppet business, or whether it would be go on TV and do puppets, or I didn't know. But I kind of knew I wanted to be a puppeteer because I had made some puppets, right? So anyways, this guy, I guess, was involved in, like, he was a judge at this time when I talked to him, but he was also, prior to that, he was sort of involved in the entertainment industry very loosely. I think he maybe organized like events or an event planner kind of thing or something like this, or maybe it was even bouncy castles or something. I don't know. But
bouncy prisons.
You send everyone to bouncy prison. This is a reform in the prison system that is needed. So my mom was like, why don't you talk to this guy? He's coming over for lunch. And so I just said to him, I said, I'm interested in becoming a puppeteer. And he just said to me, oh, then you should just start calling yourself a puppeteer. Just like that, right? And I mean, this is good advice, I think, because I sort of changed the gear, right? In my mind, I'm like, okay, I'll try that. I'll try calling myself puppeteer. And I think it informed a lot of the decisions I made after that. And so that was just good, simple advice. And he wasn't saying it was going to work or not work, or he didn't have a strategy. No one can give you this, right? But he just was like, he knew, I think what he knew was like, the mindset part of it is just like, if you want to be something and you have the ability to start because of your life situation or whatever, then probably you should just start. And just like, you want to be a hairstylist, then you start calling yourself a hairstylist. I mean, go get some skills also, right? Learn how to like do the basics of cutting hair. But
Like me, I'm a hairstylist.
yeah, I know. No, every week I'm amazed. How does he do it?
I'm a
How?
hairstylist.
Yeah, exactly. It's mesmerizing, the hair.
It's a very, very good advice. I like this.
And the second one was, of course, hiring a business coach, which was your idea.
It was an advice I gave you. Hire me.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it was good advice. Look at us now. Look at us now.
We're beautiful and successful. It's true. It's true. It's one of my best advice. Like for anybody who, and it's funny, I had a coaching call, a group coaching call just before the podcast, and it was one of the advice I gave the group. Like, we all know usually what we should do.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we have a very good idea of what we should do to be successful. Like there's not that many things we can do as a human to sell something, like, or like there's not that many avenues. So when you know what to do but you're not doing it, what do you need? You need support, you need encouragement, you need um, good advice on where to focus. And usually the person will just tell you what you already know you should be doing. But because you're meeting with the person every week, every month, whatever, I think every week is a good thing because a month is very long. So
Right.
you always have that kind of structure where this person is guiding you and guiding you and guiding you, So, but also you have this consistency ability that I really appreciate and admire. That it's a muscle, right?
Yeah.
So
I think you sort of said this too, but it's also having someone it's to answer to, right? Because it's easy
mm,
to do your own thing and then you're like, oh, I didn't do that this week, but who cares? No one knows, right? But honestly, it helps. I mean, you're very easy to work with, right? And you don't give me like scolding or anything like that too much. You just get mad when I don't send the Rolex in the mail right away.
yeah, because Mike pays me one Rolex a week.
One Rolex per week is it's worth it though. It's so I get them for like from the guy on the corner, very cheap. I don't think I was supposed to tell you that. Those,
Oh shit,
sorry.
a Rolex. So this is not a real one?
No, it's good still though. It still works.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, having someone to answer to, that helps. That helps a lot. And yeah, I don't know if there's anything
right.
to add to that, but
We can go to the next question. It was a good answer. Very good, Mike. I have a question. I'm gonna ask it. I think I'm
me
gonna.
on my answers.
What?
Thanks for coaching me on even my answers in the.
Yeah, 10 on 10. 10 out of 10.
Thanks.
I'm gonna ask this one. Maybe I'm gonna remove it for the next guest, but maybe it's good. What is the worst advice you've ever received for your art business?
Okay, the worst advice. This is a hard one to answer because I don't know. I take all advice, and whether it's good or bad, I don't know. But I do remember this one, like when I was in business school, and I went to Brock University in St. Catharines, Ontario, for business. And I remember them always telling us, I was in the entrepreneurship stream, and they're always telling us, I mean, it seemed like they probably told us like twice, but it seemed like they were always telling us, oh, 80% of, you've heard this, right? 80% of small businesses fail, right? And this is good to know, right? But it can really, don't let it inform it can just scare you off, right? And maybe I'm sure it's true. I'm sure it's true. And maybe my business will fail at some point, but I'm doing it now, right? And
It will fail, I guarantee.
I will die in the future, everyone, one day. Yeah, probably will be. So, um, it's okay. I'm okay with it. I just feel like that doesn't need to be. And they probably, even at the time they told us, they probably said, don't let this get to your head, but this is the fact. But the only thing you remember is 80% of things fail, right? And that's not. You just have to take that advice or any advice with a grain of salt, I guess, right? And take it for what it is. But
Good.
that comes to mind. Other than that, I don't know. All the advice you've given me is genius and amazing.
All right. I'll send you the check, and the check is in the mail. All right. Thank you for that. 10 out of 10 for that answer.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Coach.
All right, next question. So we still have 3 or 4 questions left.
Okay.
My hour-long podcast was a good target, I think.
Holy smokes! Is like, when did we?
It goes fast, right?
It goes fast because you're very interesting.
Yeah, perfect.
You have a nice complexion.
Thank you. Yeah, my oily forehead is so interesting to watch. I think you can see your reflection in it.
My own self.
All right. So if you're listening on audio version, you're missing out. So
Version?
no, I'm gonna upload it afterwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, but then we're gonna put in animations on top of that.
Yeah, and they will not see when we take our shirts off. Yeah.
Woo!
So anyway, next question. So do you believe that the starving artist concept is a bad thing? And do you believe that an artist with more money can help more?
Yeah. So the starving artist concept is a bad thing. It's like it's a stereotype, right? And none of those really are any good. So that's all.
True.
That artists have to be like suffering and starving and this and that. Like, why would we have that thought that any group should be starving or whatever, right? Of course it's a bad concept, right? It's and yeah, so we don't need all the artists to be billionaires and millionaires or whatever, but that'd be good maybe. But yeah, I do think that we provide artists, not just puppeteers, Elie, architects, ballerinas, all of these things, writers, right? Like, yeah, they're probably going to do their thing even if there's not a lot of money involved, right? But it's easier for them if there is more money. So yeah. Okay. Is that what the question was? Is it?
Well, do you believe that an artist with more money can help more?
Oh, can help more. Yeah. So I just think you can increase your reach. Whatever it is, you can make more of your art if you have more money, I suppose, more time.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And then therefore create happiness. That's the point. That's the point. I think that's the point of not all art, but it creates something pleasurable experience for people, right? That's, I think, the point of it. So
yeah, aesthetics. I mean,
aesthetics are huge.
More aesthetics in life, I think, is helping more and more people to live a better life.
I think so. I just think it's often just kind of overlooked and taken for granted because maybe it's just like the way that, like a street mural gets painted, right? And you don't even really notice it necessarily, but it's there and it has an effect on, if not you, somebody else. And so these aesthetic things, these pieces of art that are around us, the more of them there are, I think the better off we are. And so therefore, like the artists who create them need to be supported, I guess, as much as possible. I mean, not more or less than anybody else, but But yeah, it's valuable for sure, and it creates happiness, I think.
Totally. All right. Next question. So, do you think that it will be beneficial for society? Well, we answered this, but the question was like, do you think that it would be beneficial for society to have more artists who are making a living from their art?
Yeah, I do. I think that people, just artists and people doing what they are passionate about or what they believe in, are happy doing, whether it's art or whatever it is, then that contributes to the collective consciousness, I think, and makes the world a better place and probably has a positive effect overall.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if more people were doing what they're passionate about, it would just help society in general because more people would be happy doing what they like.
I think. I'm not a social scientist or whatever, but that's what I think. You know what I mean? Like they used to talk about, like, I forget, but paying a certain percentage of the population to only meditate. Do you remember that? And they thought that the effect of that would be on the rest of humanity would be like really good. I don't know. That's what comes to mind when you talk about that. It's like if there's a certain percentage of people who are doing that, but it's not, this world we live in, it's not possible for everybody to do that. Not everyone's in a position to make that decision, I don't think. But yeah, it would be great if more people could do what they're
Passionate about
or moved to do.
Yeah, totally. All right. And what are your personal goals for your art business for the next 5, 10, 20 years?
Just survive. And then I think, like, the next thing for me is like maybe to expand the business and have other performers maybe one day. That's way down the road, I think, though. I still feel like I'm young enough to be performing and whatnot, but at some point I'll probably need to, like, have someone else do some of that part of it. And but I really want to like train other people to do puppet shows too, like kids especially. I have this thing I do on Wednesday nights on online. It's a puppet club for like 9 to 13-year-olds, and we get together online and we just mess around with puppets and play with puppets and talk about puppets and geek out on puppets. And so I want to encourage like a younger generation to sort of take this up. You don't have to do it as a job or whatever, right? But learn how to do a puppet show, because, like, puppet shows are very instant. Like, you can put them together pretty easily with almost no investment, and it can be about anything, right? You can travel through time and space and all of that. So I kind of want to pass that on now to another generation. So that's what I'm trying to, like, do more workshop kind of things. And I put together this thing called Puppet Camp, where I teach kids, like, for 5 days how to make a puppet, how to make a puppet stage, how to make the story, how to practice, and then how to perform. So this is something new that I have, and I actually just sort of almost finished writing a book about this called Do a Puppet Show. Are the balloons going to come? Do a puppet show.
You have to tell me what you have on your computer to do this.
I have no idea. And so the book will be out pretty soon. Doesn't work. It doesn't work in Quebec, I don't think. No balloons.
Oh my god!
Like hand gestures, with another. Who knows what's gonna come up? Could be anything.
Farted. All right.
Yeah. So that's my sort of, those are my sort of goals now, is to, like, expand, share some of the things I've learned doing puppet shows. So yeah. Love
it. This is a great goal, to give back, leaving a legacy behind.
Oh, one more thing. Just I want to go back to when we were talking about having a coach and all of that. The other thing about having a coach is, it's like, I feel like with you and I, the way we work together, it's like you're part of, like, maybe people think coaching is expensive or whatever, but I think it's a good deal because it's like having not even an employee, but almost like a partner.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than
It's like
having.
you are renting a partner.
It's like rent a partner. You should call your business that. That's all. That's all I wanted to say is like,
I like it.
I always feel like working with you, like you're on my side and you have my best interest, and you work to know me, right? And what will work for me. You're not like trying to get me to jump through hoops when you know what I mean? You do push me to do things outside of my comfort zone, but it's never like, it's always with consideration, I feel like, for that. So I just feel like it's a really good, it's good value.
Yeah, to find the right person to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to find the right rent a partner. I like this. I think I'm going to use this. All right, so I'm down to the last question. So, what advice would you give any artists? Like, just one quick advice would you give an artist that is maybe making a bit of money from their art, but not enough to make a living,
Mm-hmm.
or somebody that never sold anything? Like, what would be the best advice to expand, like, in your opinion, to start expanding their business? What kind of advice could you give them?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that consistency thing, right? But you need something to be consistent with first. Right? So it's fine to be consistent, but if you're being consistent at like the wrong thing every day, which I might be, but I feel like it's sort of okay, whatever it is, these phone calls or whatever that I'm consistent with. So maybe the first step is to figure that out, right? And maybe the first step to help figure that out is to find someone, and they don't have to pay a coach or whatever, but find a mentor. Like, this is how I started with networking with other puppeteers and stuff, to bounce your ideas off of, right? And sort of see what you need to build habits, right? You need to build habits into your days to be consistent, but make sure those habits are good. So that's what I would say is, like, figure out what the good habits are, maybe with someone else who has some business experience, and then be consistent with them after that. So that's all. I think, is that clear enough? I think I can't say specifically what those habits are, for everyone's business is different or whatever, but fine, because you're going to have habits every day, one way or another. Make sure those habits that you have are building towards whatever it is whatever your goal is.
It's a good advice, because there's stages in any businesses, and at first maybe your consistency would be to work on getting better at what you're doing. So you get more confident in proposing services or selling what you're creating. So maybe that's what the first step is, to create every day, and eventually is to show it to people every day without selling, just showing it. There's some steps, some gradients that you can use, creating, then showing, then asking, like, what do you think about it? Receiving opinions, and then you will receive eventually, like, do you sell it? Well, how much would you ask for? How much would you buy it from me? So, and then eventually, and you start at a price, and eventually your price increases. So it's like stages.
Yeah, and it all depends on what stage you're at, I suppose, right? What you're gonna need to do. So,
all right. Well, thank you so much. So, where can people find you online, Mike, if they want to know more about what you do?
I have a terrible website that's really out of date, so they can start there. It's www, the 3 W's dot, and then there's like a period, and then applefun.ca. That's my website, and then all my social media links are on there. So it's at least got that, but the website itself needs to be updated for sure. But yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and LinkedIn, and all that stuff. So yeah, connect
So it would be Applefun Puppetry on these platforms.
Yeah, all the links are on my website, but yeah, it's just Applefun and _ puppetry, I think.
All right.
Sure.
Well, that's the end of the interview. Mike, it was amazing to know more about your story. I mean, we've known each other for a while, but there's so many things I didn't know. So it was really nice to learn more about you.
Yeah, I mean, I always like hanging out with you. So congratulations on starting your podcast and letting me be the first guest. So
yeah,
it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. And I forgot to I think you forgot to mention your book.
I know. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, my book is everywhere. It's gonna be everywhere, and the goal is to help people get the freaking book because it helps. And the goal of the book is to help artists make a living from their art, and it's doing it with hundreds of artists all around the world already. So get the book. So thank you, Mike. I'm going to push you out of the screens. Stay in the virtual studio.
Okay.
I want to chat with you afterwards. So bye, Mike. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. If you want to get into my weekly chat with other artists, like-minded artists, join our membership for $10 US monthly only. You get access to me in a group coaching call. It's once a week for 1 hour with like-minded artists like yourself. I see Mike doing balloons. Okay, so you go to ElieCastonguay.com/membership. You can see below the website. We started this week. It's really fun. We had 5 amazing artists today. So ElieCastonguay.com/membership. Go now. Click on the buttons. Give me your credit card, whatever it is. Get in the club. We're going to have fun. And the goal is to help you get more tips and ask me questions for your art business. So until then, get my book, right? Get my book. And it's going to help you. It's going to start you on the path of getting more data and more knowledge to make a living from your art. And we have Marvin here. What a great first podcast with Mark Harding and his balloons. Thank you, Marvin. Paul Gregg says here, when I first got Eli's book, I read it twice. Thank you so much, Paul. He's always recommending my book to everyone. We have Elise, who says, thanks, Elie and Mike. It's our pleasure. And Charla, who says nothing. So thank you, Charla. So until then, next week, the podcast will be on Wednesday, 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time. This week was exceptional for an exceptional person, Mike. And so, yeah, I'm going to put my ending. Ann Newman says, well done, guys. Thank you so much, Ann. I hope you had a great time because we did. And I'm going to try to find my ending video. And I'm going to tell you, have a great night.